All right, welcome back to CSM After Dark, episode 5. As usual, the normal culprits are
Cinco.
here. De Mayo, I guess. I don't know what you're saying. But
No, it's five in Spanish, but welcome back, boys and girls, I guess.
I took
Strictly girls
French.
watching.
All right. Today we're gonna get a little duck itch. It's actually July. But I don't know if this will be posted in July or not. But
Yeah, I
today
mean,
we're
I
gonna
felt
get a
some cold
little.
winds today, so I'm feeling a little bit ducky.
Yeah, I feel nothing cold weather over here, but missing
It
it.
was
But today
not
we're gonna
cold
get
here today.
a little call talk today. I'll start with Cooper as usual. How long have you been duck calling?
I'd say just about a year now, but I like not consistently. I've only really called during duck season and then like a little bit after, but I'd say I have like a year of experience now. And
So would you say you're
yeah,
in copper, or like, are you not very good? Are you good?
Hmm.
no, I'm
What
really
would you
happy
consider
with
your
where
rank?
I'm at right now.
Do you
Yeah,
think you're
that's
like
I
plat,
definitely
upcoming
think
diamond,
there's
or what?
room for improvement. I wouldn't compare myself to like pros or anything, but
oh yeah,
I agree
I'm
with
very
that. I
happy
agree with
with how
that.
I can call.
Cooper's a solid caller.
yeah, yeah. I Cooper's. I'd say honestly, for a year, you're actually a really strong caller, especially hunting by yourself as much as you have. So I think and honestly, I was gonna ask like where'd you learn, but I really feel like a lot of times when it's calling, it's really self taught. Like somebody can teach you the basics, but it's all how much you practice. So I think it's
Yeah, I'd
mainly
kind of
self
just
taught.
go to the garage, and since like it bounces off the walls really well, I'd call, listen to myself, and kind of adjust based off how I was sounding. Really kind of just taught myself. I obviously would watch a few videos on tips, but at the end of the day, those aren't going to actually teach you how to do it. You got to do it yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sawyer, how long you been calling duck or goose? Oh, Cooper, obviously you're not a goose caller. I think you haven't said that yet, but I know you don't like goose
Yeah,
calls.
I don't
You
like
kind of
geese
Yeah.
and I don't like goose calling.
yeah, fair. So Sawyer,
Yeah, sometimes bad sometimes, but I've been duck calling for about a few days now. I mean, pretty bad.
so
I don't
you
really
are in
practice.
copper.
I don't really practice the duck call to be honest, because Cooper's the duck call guy. Well, I mean, Max usually is when he's here, but when he's gone, Cooper's the duck call guy, and he's fine at it. But I haven't really practiced the duck call that much. I'm mostly just the goose slayer, and I
Yeah.
got for my duck call, I got the Slayer calls Drake Slayer, which Cooper says that he doesn't like it that much, but I think it sounds okay. It's not anything crazy, but I think you definitely could get something a little better for the price that it was.
Is
But
that the one where like the reed is like it's like a I don't even know how to say it. It's like a riveted or like is that the one where like the reed is like it looks like as like shark bites out of it or no?
I
Because I know
think I think it
Slayer
no, I
might.
don't think so.
like Slayer
One
has
of
one
them
that
by
it's
Slayer calls, I think.
yeah it's supposed to be like a duck uh like how a duck's anatomy actually is and something. I don't know. I was curious, but
I don't know. I'm trying to pull it out, but I can't pull it out, so I
yeah,
can't check. So I
that's
guess we'll
funny.
never know. That's a question you won't get answered.
So
But
what do you call it?
yeah,
What do you carry on your lanyard again? I'm sorry.
I carry. Well, I don't even carry the stock call. I carry that whistle. That was
Oh,
it.
the
That Drake
five and
whistle.
one.
That's like yeah, it's like five
Yeah,
calls in one. Carry that because always got to have that on the lanyard. That's pretty. I mean, pretty nice. You can call quite a
a lot of
few
stuff.
flying birds with that.
Yeah,
And then I also usually have my Impossible Goose Call. That's like $60, and it works
it
like a
does sound
charm.
good.
Never had issue with it, and I love that thing. And I
Yeah,
sound like an absolute beauty on it.
you do for only calling for like a year or two. You do sound pretty good on a goose call,
I also gotta
Cooper. I
say,
kind
for
of
how much you practice on it, you sound good. You don't even
yeah,
practice
Yeah, I
that
don't
much.
practice. I
that's
just
so
like,
true.
go out there and wing it.
That's so true. If you
If you
actually
actually
practice,
practice, you could rip a goose call.
yeah, you'd be insane. But Cooper, what do you carry on your lanyard?
I carry, well, last year I should say, because I haven't actually took my new call on my lanyard this year, but last year I carried on my lanyard the CQ2 by JT calls. This year I also plan on carrying the it's the I forget what it's
Is it
called.
the LBO?
Yeah, it is the LBO by JT calls. Forgot if it was the Omen or LBO. It's
Yeah.
the LBO though. I
So,
plan on
what are
carrying
your
that.
differences? What are your differences between those two? Because I know they're both obviously hen duck
The
call
the
mallard call.
LBO is a single read and it's got like a larger bore so you can like really scream with it. And the CQ2 is a quieter single read call. I mean double read call.
Yeah.
And it really sounds ducky. I really like that call.
Yeah, you do. I remember you do sound very ducky with that call, but I remember the only issue you were having last year was
It's
the
not loud
volume. You
enough.
couldn't,
Yeah.
yeah, you couldn't quite reach out with the volume very well, which I hate to say that's just kind of the issue with double reads. But for me personally, last year I carried the at the beginning of the year I carried the elite. It's like I think it's elite duck calls. It was the freak, which is like a really all around, just a super single read, loud call. I think a few times I actually blew Cooper's ear out a few times, and he was kind of not too happy. Look, he gave me a really ugly look when I really got on that call. And then I also carried a double read, which is kind of similar to what Cooper. It was called a Little Hurricane by Elite Duck Calls as well, and that was another like really soft, super ducky, super natural sounding duck call. Which personally, I think if you're in the area of ducks, I think a double read is almost purely unbeatable for the realness and the duckiness sound of double
Hmm.
reads, especially if you're not having to get out and yell. However, I've kind of been doing some research and whatnot, and most of the time, unless there's a ton of birds in our area, we're kind of running traffic, meaning like you're trafficking birds into the spot because they wouldn't normally be there. They're just normally might pure, curiosity. So I don't know. I feel like a cut down call wouldn't be a brutal thing to carry on your lanyard, or just kind of really a really loud J frame, which is it's a single read. But that's what I carried last year was just a freak, and then the little hurricane, and then obviously I think is me and Cooper both have the disciple goose call, which I can barely call, but it does okay. But
Yeah.
one thing last year I think we all had talked about was the amount of green wing teal we saw, and how yes we have the 6-in-1 whistle that blows the drake, like the little tweeting sound, or just the whatever, the drake green wing, but honestly
Yeah.
I didn't feel like we utilized that enough because we got zero response from green wing teal. I think you guys killed one, you know what I mean, one all year long, and we saw so many green wing teal.
Hmm.
That's one thing I would like to do different this year is actually carry a like um, hen like green and blue wing call, and then also carry even a wood duck call, just because I feel like it doesn't hurt to have those calls when it's specific birds you're seeing. But I don't know. I mean, Cooper, I know you have a wood duck call. What is your opinion on that?
On wood duck calls,
Just kind of carrying a wide variety of different species, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, you need one goose call and one duck call, and that's all you need. Whereas if you watch like Duck Commander, these guys are carrying 16 different calls. There's like a gadwall, wood duck, mallard,
yeah.
speck, all that stuff.
No, I definitely think you need species specific calls. Like
Yeah,
you could
and
definitely
decoys.
notice that a mallard call was not working for these green wing at all.
Mm-mm.
So
Yeah,
it'd be nice to have a green wing call to use the hen.
for sure. Can you have too many calls on a lanyard?
I think
Yeah.
yes, you definitely
Uh,
can.
What would be too many calls on a lanyard? Like, what would you, if you saw somebody with this, you'd be like, that's just way too many. What would it be?
If they got like a call for every species of duck and goose on a like
I'd
That's
lanyard,
fair.
because I'd say during duck season, I think the only calls you should have on your lanyard are like a single read, double read, and then like that whistle and maybe a goose call.
I think
Yeah.
a fair amount of
But
calls
like,
to have on your lanyard is like
He's like
If you're
4
a really
to be
experienced
honest.
hunter is 6, and I think anything
I think
above
it's like
6 is
12.
too much.
I think
Yeah.
12's perfect amount.
Jeez, shut up, Sawyer.
You know, you need
Um,
every species of duck out there on goose.
I think a big thing also is like situational because we genuinely hunt in the same spots the majority of the year, but we also do have different spots. I think situational is a big thing. I know some people are like, I only want one lanyard and I don't want to touch it the whole entire year, and that's totally fine. But personally, I think situational times, like obviously if you're early on in the year, I think carrying a wood duck call is very crucial and very smart. And then obviously, you know, maybe even only having one, mallard hen call and then your whistle and then a goose call might be, good enough. But I feel like it's very situational because I hate to say it, the later in the year you get, I honestly feel like the more calls doesn't hurt you because the pickier the birds are. Because we noticed that in the very beginning of December, me and Cooper were hunting and we called in 60, 70% of birds we saw. Whereas later in the month of December, how many birds just didn't even care to take a look at us? And I feel like it's really just depending on if they're stale birds, new birds, and also the time of year.
Mm,
Yeah.
But that's personally my take on that. But we'll move on to decoys because I know Cooper's a decoy maniac over here. Cooper, what's your favorite type of decoy? What's your brand like in species?
Uh, I haven't actually used heydays yet, but that's what I'm starting to really want to use. I have a dozen of them now, and just like holding them, it's the difference between them and a regular decoy is huge. But I have the flock mallard heyday decoys, and I want to get like maybe 2 dozen more to have on standby. And we'll see how long they last. I don't know how durable they'll actually be, but they seem like a really nice decoy from what I've heard.
They're supposed to be like they used to be called lifetime decoys because they're supposed to have. It's used to like supposed to like last a lifetime. So
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen people shoot them at 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, and run them over, and they still look fine.
yeah,
But I think the crucial thing with those is just how light they are, and they also, which is like depending on where you're hunting, how they don't bang off of each other is so nice because that's it gets so annoying. Hmm. Sure, I
yeah.
mean,
Plastic decoys are loud.
yeah. Sure, what is your favorite type of decoy? What's the final approach ones? The mallards. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Mm, true. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think on cloudier days they really say that like flocked head decoys really can make a big difference. I mean, in the sun they obviously look really good, but I think on your dark days, which in the wintertime we tend to get quite a few, which is actually usually when we seem to struggle the most duck hunting, is I mean, I think that will help out a lot. Um,
Yeah,
So I'll just obviously weigh in really quickly on the heyday decoys. The only obviously there's one setback on the heyday, and then everybody knows it. If you duck hunt or even remotely duck hunt, you know the price of these things is a little on the outrageous side. My thing is if they last and consistently look good for 3, 4, 5 years, I think it will be a great investment. But at the same time, that's very hard to. But I mean, that's obviously investing in the first place with anything. But I think if they stand up and they like, or if they they don't break down and the flocking stays on and it still looks good after a bunch of years of duck hunting, I think it will be worth it due to A, the lightness of them, and B, obviously, hopefully the, like, I guess the, you can't destroy them, hopefully. And then obviously they are a bigger looking decoy. They are one of the wider decoys, which I think look good in the water. You know what I mean? It's a
Hmm.
bet you can see it from farther and whatnot. But as of right now, I can't say that's my favorite decoy because the price really is like holy crap, like that's outrageous. But after this year, it might change because you can buy. I've seen before you can buy a fully flocked decoy for almost the price of six. You can buy a dozen fully flocked for almost the price of six flocked head heydays. So we will see. Obviously, it's situational. We do a lot of walking in, so that very well could be like a game changer. But moving on, Cooper. Obviously, there's not a ton of motorized decoys or like I guess movement in your spread. What would be your go to, your favorite motorized decoy that either you used or you want to use or you plan to use or don't have, whatever?
Uh, Probably the Higdon pulsators.
Higdon.
'Cause
Higdon. I don't know what Higdon is, but Higdon.
I can pronounce it however I want. But
The what is
no,
it?
I think the pulsators,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think those are honestly the better choice over spinners because at times ducks get kind of spooked around spinners, like
For
especially
sure.
later in the season, and pulsators are more natural. And honestly, at times they can look better than the spinners just with the natural like splash and the
Hmm.
like the glare of the sun on it.
For sure.
And yeah, especially with like the experience we've had with spinning wings, like there's been times where it's been more done more damage than good, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree with that, but at the same time, I feel like from where we hunt, especially running traffic, having spinners is crucial, but whoever has the remote control to the spinner needs to be on point because I feel like later in the year, once you get the duck's attention, I think when you turn it off, I think that would be the most crucial because obviously the spinning wing decoy does get attention, but I also do agree the pulsator is a very big thing. But Sora, go
Yeah,
ahead. For sure. Right. Right. I agree. Yeah. Everything but the last part might be true. But I think in where we hunt, I think that those are very. I'm curious because I know me and Cooper were talking about it one time. I'm curious to see in the little bit of current that is there, whether the water's up, whether it's not, how the pulsator works in a little bit of current.
yeah,
Um, kind of curious to see how that works. I mean, I would imagine it would do just fine. But curious to see with that. But I think a very underrated thing to use, maybe not in a river, in a smaller river that we hunt, and I think that's kind of what a pulsator does. But I really think if you get a genuine jerk rig, I know we've kind of made our own and whatever, and it works okay. But I think a jerk rig actually is probably the best motorized, like not motorized, but the best like motion in the decoys. And you can get a motorized jerk rig, but that's expensive. And like if you had a duck hole or a place that you consistently hunt that doesn't obviously the water's not running through it, I think that's personally, I think that is the best and most realistic looking because it's literally just ducks moving on the water, which you can't really beat. But also we hunt in moving current, which the ducks or decoys already swim around, and I think with the heydays, with the dual like the pontoon sort of thing, I think they're going to swim even more, especially with how light they are. So I don't even know if a jerk rig will even be necessary. But um, next topic, waders, which I know Cooper loves to run through waders. Like I don't even know, he switches waders every hunt. It seems like Cooper. Cooper, what do you look for in a wader? Yeah, like price, durability, warmth, breathable, not. What are your go to look for in a wader?
Durable and warm.
That's
Two
pretty.
things.
that's very true.
And reasonable, I guess. But
Yeah,
I'm pretty good at popping holes in waders.
you're also very tall and very skinny, so I feel like you have a lot of extra room in your waders. So I feel like it can get like there can be like slack in your waders, and you create holes easier if you don't actually fill out your waders. So I feel like that can be a downfall to being 6'6" and 125 pounds.
That's true.
What brand do you use, Coop? Or what brands, I should say?
I've gone with Final Approach. I like those waders. They were warm. A bit, I didn't get the right size. They were a bit too loose on me. And
Mm,
now I have Tidewees, and they're not insulated. I have to put on some
yeah.
layers myself, and they don't keep me very warm. So,
I, I feel like with the that's like the huge thing because I think all like the Sitka, all the new everybody loves this breathable where there's no insulation and like oh you can wear your own underlayers and whatnot. And I feel like where we hunt, the amount of time that we hunt where it's above 25 degrees and like where you wouldn't need much layers is very slim compared to the majority of the time when we're hunting and it's freezing, where like I feel like a pair of insulated wear like a breathable slash insulated wader is just way, I guess, better for the area we hunt. Like
yeah,
I think me and Sora both had the same kind. I don't know if so I think we both had the Final Approach. I think we all bought them. I think it was literally like 130 bucks on the waterfowl weekend at Final Approach or Rogers, and I'm going on my third year with these things, like, and they're pretty good for me so far. I mean, they're warm. My toes really don't get cold, but I think Sora, don't you have the same pair or no? Good. Yeah, that will happen that way, but yeah,
that was the
yeah.
weirdest day too. We were like crawling through the woods, and there was like deer just running by us, like they were like 30 feet from us. And there was like this giant buck that we saw too. It was a
Jeez.
big buck. And then we like shot at geese, and we started arguing who shot it. It was me.
Oh, jeez. Typical brothers. Yeah, that's tough. Uh, the only thing I've heard with neoprene is that not even that. The only thing I've heard about neoprene is every single person says like you can't move in them. Like it's awful. Like there's no move, and it feels like once the neoprene gets wet, it's extremely heavy. And I'm just saying, I personally don't think I'd buy a pair of neoprenes. I think like the first pair, I think if and it's also hard because you guys also run through your waders very quickly. Like you guys crawl around and the places we hunt, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna walk into a marsh. Like, no, we're walking through the woods. Trees are scraping up against us. There's rocks. There's stuff in the river. There's glass. Like we hunt a pretty rugged terrain, I want to say, but I feel like it's also just I don't know. I personally feel like neoprenes, I've heard nothing but negative things about them. Like people always say they're tight, they're hard to get on. They're once they're on, like it's extremely like heavy, but I mean, hey, everybody tries, everybody, you can try whatever you want, but I don't know. And then also, lovely Sitka came out with another pair of waders. Instead of being 1,000, it's $1,600 frickin' dollars. Who the hell's fucking paying for that? I'm sorry for the F word, but I don't even care. Like, who's paying for that?
Yeah,
sixteen
that's
hundred
way too
dollars.
much.
You can buy a car for $1,600. And I know that they're supposed to have like a lifetime warranty, this and that, but like it's not. You have to have a backup pair of waders because literally, if you get a hole in your waders, you have to send it off to them. They don't send you a new pair. Most times, like I've seen videos of people, they like turn their waders inside out, and there's like 16, 17 patches that Sitka has done to their waders. And I'm just
Hmm.
like, and there was like, gee, like, bro, just give me a new pair at this point. Like, and you have to send it off for 4 or 5 weeks, and like by that point, duck season's over. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
that's and unless you have a shop or because I know Sitka has like stores now, places like unless you want to drive to one of those shops and maybe they can do it there. I don't really know, but I'm just like, that's outrageous. I think that's I don't know. My thing is, I don't know if it's just me mentally or seeing the people around, but I just don't think I could put on a pair of Sitka anything. I really don't. Maybe a pair of gloves is about it,
Yeah, I
or
wear
like
the Sitka thin gloves for like hunting,
yeah,
and that's it.
yeah. I was gonna say
Oh yeah,
that's the
and the
only
hat
thing.
too.
I just
Well, I'm not
I'm
gonna
not
buy
saying
like
their
a
stuff is
Sitka coat
bad.
or anything.
I'm not saying their stuff is bad, and I've heard nothing but great stuff about their coach and their all that stuff. I don't think I could put it on. I'm just like I feel like such a city person when I put it on because it's just like I'm not. I just spent $600 on a jacket that I could have bought 4 jackets for, or
Yeah,
$1,600 for waiters. You could buy 7 dozen goose fully flocked decoys for that price. That's outrageous. I don't know. And then my last final hot take on this is not even just Sitka. How come 1,600 grain boots are colder than 1,200 grain boots? Can somebody
yeah,
explain that to
that's
me?
true.
Can
We've
somebody
all
explain
had
that to me?
problems with that.
I've had a pair of 1,600 grain boots. I've even seen somebody with like a pair of like 2,000 grain. There's nothing warmer than 1,200 grain. I swear. I don't know what it is. I don't know who makes them. I don't know. I don't. I just like it doesn't make any sense. It must be. It must be. All right. So I want to say the second to last topic. We're going to talk a little bit about like your what do you wear while you're duck hunting? You know what I mean? What is your coat? What's your pants, sweatshirt, blue jeans? Cooper, give us your little rundown of your gear rundown.
For my coat, it's a Drake coat. I don't know the exact model of it. I just know it's a Drake. Um, yeah, I basically just wear that coat and then my waders, which are tie dye, and then I'll either wear a CSM hat or I think it kind of just varies on the beanie I'll wear. There's
Yeah.
nothing specific for that.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
carb. I was gonna say I
I,
I
I've
very
worn the
rarely
Carhartt
wear.
one, and I've also worn
Yeah.
Cassins, that one.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
very rarely wear what do you call it? A stocking hat or a yeah beanie. I very rarely do. I always like wearing hats when I'm hunting,
and then
even when it's
I'll like
cold.
And then the Sitka neck gaiter, and sometimes the Sitka thin gloves. I never actually really bring like heavy gloves. I'll just bring hand warmers because
I never
I
even knew
think
you had the sit communicator.
duck hunting, bringing heavy gloves is a waste because you have to take them on and off, and you don't want to shoot with thick gloves on.
No, no.
So,
Sawyer, is it Drake or Ducks? Mm. Oh yeah, that's good. How many pairs of socks? I never go more than one. I never go more than one pair of socks. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's fair. And then Sawyer's secret weapon that he carries every single time and never shares is his strawberry Pop Tart. Is it cinnamon? Cinnamon. Ah. You- Mm. I'm very different than you both of you. I literally go I have like a pair of like smart wool socks. That's it. Then I either wear a pair of jeans. Well, I usually wear like long underwear. Then I wear a pair of jeans or like work pants. And then a crucial piece of gear that nobody thinks of if you're not wearing wader pants, which I don't feel like buying wader pants. It's like these little things of Velcro that go around your ankles to hold your pants down at the bottom. My dad gave them to me, and I'm like, "What do you use these for?" I use them once. Never, ever will I go on a hunt without them because when you put your waders on, it like scruffs your pants all the way up. Like it's the best thing in the world to have those. And personally, that's I do that, and then I have literally just like a long shirt. Usually, I have a sweatshirt. Then I have just like a different Drake waterfowl coat than these two, and then usually just a neck gaiter and a hat. Bottomland. I have a bottomland camo one, but it is pretty warm and it's waterproof too, which is it's a wader jacket too because you can either put it on the inside or put it on the outside.
hmm.
You're so weird. So weird. But yeah, you need to buy different gear. All right, Cooper, last topic of the day. Give us a little rundown of your new boomstick that took 9 years, seven
Oh
days,
yeah.
and six
Uh,
hours to get.
so as y'all might know or not know, I used to have a Frankie, the Frankie
Affinity
Affinity
3.5.
3.5, yeah, and it was not the gun. The gun, I liked like the gun, but I didn't like how it shot. It shot a t terrible pattern, and so I
Crucial
decided
part.
I wanted to go with an American gun. So I got the SX4 by Winchester, th 3.5. And I just was recently trap shooting with it, and I shot really well with it the first day. The next day I went, didn't shoot as great, but it definitely is way better than my Frankie. I can already tell based off the trap shooting. But my one complaint is, I guess it's just with the state we live in. It literally took me almost 3 months to get the gun. I waited
Yeah,
the
it's not.
72-hour wait period, and they said that it got put on hold because like my papers didn't get like reviewed or whatever. And I eventually had to get my papers resubmitted after a month, and then it finally went through later after that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it took forever.
And what instant upgrade did you do to your gun that cost $175?
Oh, yeah, I literally bought this like 3 months ago. I bought it before I even had the gun. I bought a molar choke for it because I want a really good choke that, well, I mean, I can use for a long time and actually trust. Some chokes, I've been like doing research on chokes. Some of these chokes you can't really trust. They don't do their job. But I made sure to buy a really good choke that was like $150, and it's called the passing choke, so it's good out to 50 yards. So I wanted something that could reach out a little further because we seem to have that problem sometimes where we have ducks just out of range. So now I want to be able to poke at them if I can.
Yeah. How much? I don't even know. I guess you because is that the video that we've talked about that in the past podcast too, is the molar choke tubes. But some
Yeah.
I'm a newbie. I just use the factory choke tubes until I have an issue with them. I mean, maybe one day I'll if I get a new gun, maybe. But like I don't even I've never tend to had an issue. Although I will say, Cooper, you do kind of have bad luck with gear. Same thing happened with your bow, and then with your gun. Like yeah. Ever since you got that gun, that thing was not aiming for it. Because I remember,
Yeah.
yeah, it was low. Maybe I
Yeah.
don't know, but
It shot
we
high and to the left,
I remember we
like
used to.
way to the left. It was like weird.
Yeah. Well, I remember because we set a clay pigeon out, and you literally shot right at it and missed completely, and I was like, "How did you just do that?" I think you did like 2 or 3 times, and you was like a stationary clay pigeon, like in the dirt,
Yeah.
and then you got out the target and it did the same. Yeah, I don't know.
I
That's in
remember the
my opinion. That's
squirrel too. I,
yeah.
I
That
aimed at that
yep.
and missed.
Yeah, you missed completely. I don't know. That's to me. That's one of the most frustrating things is when you put your money in something and it's like newer or new, and you get it and it just doesn't work how it's supposed to. That is a that's an instant like red flag or
Yeah.
pisses me off if I spend good money on something and it just doesn't work how it's supposed to. But
Yeah, people either seem to love the Frankies or hate them.
the Italian guns aim differently, and I've seen that forever. And personally, I think that's stupid how when you buy a gun, you instantly have to shim it. Like, I'm sorry, like, yes, you can pattern a shotgun, but I believe you should pull a shotgun out of the box and it should shoot straight. Like, it may not be
Exactly.
perfect. It should shoot genuinely straight. Now, maybe you need to get like a longer stock if you're taller. That's different. Adjusting the gun to you. But if you just set a gun up, it should work out of the box. Like I think that's dumb. If you're spending 1400 $1,400 on a gun and that happens, it's like that's an
Yeah.
instant turn off, I guess you could say. But well, I don't really have a ton to say. We're gonna try to record a bunch of these and post them maybe in September or I don't know, maybe August. I'm not really sure. But this was episode 5, and we'll see you on the next one.